Good day, guys. My name is Ben, and welcome to my channel. So, a few days ago, I did a review on this device, and I mentioned that I really didn't enjoy playing on this device, particularly because of the lag in the emulation. Also, the shoulder buttons are crappy, and the mini USB port, which you need to have a mini USB cable all the time, which nowadays you are either carrying a micro USB or a USB type C. So it's a bit of a hassle. Someone in the comments mentioned that you could flash it with a custom firmware, which is what exactly I did a few days ago, and some Linux OS based on the dingux system. Is it any good? Let's check it out in this video. Let's start up the console itself. Alright, so first thing you will notice that is it looks more like an OS from the late 90s, early 2000s. Got a few basic things like command prompt and explorer. All the emulators are stored in this thing here. A few homebrew games and some settings. So the OS itself, it came with a few emulators, like the Oh Boy, which is a Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulator, and NES emulator and the arcade emulator. Also the PC Engine emulator called Hugo. I installed a few extra ones like the SNES 9X. It came with the Pocket SNES, but I wasn't too happy with it, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I did install the GBA emulator as well. I tried to install an emulator called SMS_SDL, so I sort of scoured through the dingux forums and found out Game Gear emulator, because the Pico drive doesn't do good Game Gear emulation. So, what are my thoughts after flashing this new OS? So, I replaced the existing 4GB microSD card in the system. So that's the internal SD card, replaced with a 16GB microSD card. After installing all these emulators, still not great. The device itself is not a great experience for the price that you're paying. As I said, I paid about $45 US, or about $60 Australian, for this game console, and for that price I'm not satisfied. I'm still not satisfied even after flashing the operating system with the quality of emulation. Also, the D-pad has started to go really mushy. I'm not very happy with that either. I was never happy with the left and right shoulder buttons and the way how they play. Alright, now coming to the emulators themselves, let's check a few things and see what I mean. So I'm gonna start with the NES emulation, and immediately you will notice that the emulation seems a little bit off. I'm gonna start my favorite game, Super C, and I'm gonna probably notice lag a little bit more easier than other games. So launching the NES simulation, check the Super C logo coming in. Gonna press the start button. And as you can see, it's laggy. I mean, you can see it's not perfect 60 FPS. It's like the character is slow to respond. Just not a great experience overall. I mean, this thing can't really do NES simulation properly for some reason. There are, by the looks of it, there are skip frames as well. The good thing about this new OS is that you can change a few things, like press start and select, so you can change the settings a little bit. Video setup, I'm gonna do full screen fast maybe and see what happens. It's now running at full screen. I'm gonna start the game again. Still choppy. I mean, it's not. I can see the skip frames. I can see the characters being not smooth. Like animation is not smooth 60 FPS. Just annoys me a lot. I'm gonna get out of this game and I'm gonna show you the SNES emulation now. Now the default emulator that came with the new OS was the Pocket SNES, and check this out, guys. I'm gonna play the Aladdin game. Those of you who watch my regular videos, I check these two games, Aladdin on SNES and Super C on the NES. Now pay attention to the audio that's coming out of this in a second. This is not how I remember the game on the original consoles or the emulation on Raspberry Pi, for example. This one seems off to me, like it's not perfect. And with emulation, you know, if it's not perfect, it's not worth it, I think. We're gonna start the game, return to game, start the game real quick. Now look at the choppiness here. Alright, and we're gonna start the game and see this. This is barely running at probably 20 FPS or even less. Listen to the music as well. Not good enough. Alright, so we're gonna get out of this. And we're gonna try the emulator that I installed called SNES 9X 4D. And start the same game again. Now sound is a little bit better on this emulator, but the gameplay is still a little bit choppy for my likeness. It's not good enough. I don't know if you noticed that when the Aladdin logo came up. Still not sort of fast and smooth enough for me. And there will be a few skip frames as things get busier. like things I can feel it, like it's not 100% to my liking. Let's see if we can turn on the FPS on this. So we're running at about 33, 34, about 35 FPS. And let's see if when more sprites come on. So it's steady at around between 30 and 40 FPS, never going beyond that. Yep. Now check this out. The character sprite goes blinking, and sometimes it doesn't come back at all. Alright, that's it for SNES emulation. I'm gonna get out of this. And the other thing I've noticed is that the Final Burn Alpha emulator is not compatible at all with my ROMs, at least the ROMs that I have got, and a lot of the ROMs just don't show up or they don't work really. There are a few ROMs that sort of running. If you can look at, for example, like all the red ones in here. I'm not sure whether you can see the color or not, but let me try and change the color. So everything on this list doesn't work except the Afterburner 2. And if I press the play button, just check this out. This is how slow it works. It is basically unplayable. Alright, get out of this, and the system is hanged up, so the system doesn't work at all. So I have to actually, like, even the power button doesn't do anything, so I need to take the battery out and then put the battery back again in order to let it boot again. Alright, so it's rebooted now, and we're not gonna bother playing another arcade game. Try the PC Engine game. Again, the emulation is a little bit choppy for my liking. I'm not super happy with it. We're gonna turn on the FPS if it allows us to change options, maybe. Show FPS, yes. return to the game. Now it's running at 60 FPS at the moment. Especially it slows down pretty badly in the boss fights and stuff like that. Maybe not. Boss fight. FPS. Sounds becoming a bit choppy. Weird noise is starting to come out from the speaker as well. So maybe it's not as bad as I first thought, but it's still going down to like 50 FPS. Gonna exit out of that really quickly, and now to the good stuff. Game Boy emulation with Oh Boy, perfect. I couldn't fault it. But for the device of this price, you would expect that all the Game Boy games are pretty much running at 60 FPS and no skip frames or anything like that. I've changed the screen to full screen. I don't see a difference between a Raspberry Pi console and this one. So Game Boy Color is a plus. Haven't the gray scale is pretty good to my liking as well. Stupid mistake. Yeah, let's try a Game Boy Color game. Gonna open up Metal Gear. seems to be running fine. I haven't noticed any problems at all. Music seems to be okay as well. So that now there's a lot of chit chat in this one before the game actually starts, so I'm gonna skip through that. I think it works alright. So now let's try Pico Drive, which is a Sega Mega Drive or Genesis emulator, but it can also play Sega Master System. It can also load Game Gear games, but the colors are not good. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm gonna load a Sonic game. Now my first complaint in the first video was that the Sega Mega Drive emulation wasn't good, but with this flashed OS, the emulation on the Sega Mega Drive is pretty good, with accurate music and no skip frames. So I think the Pico Drive emulator is pretty good for Sega Mega Drive emulation. Sounds accurate. It's running at 60 FPS, no problems at all. Yeah, I tried to play through a couple of levels and it was running absolutely fine. I also tried some demanding games as well, like Sonic 3 with some pseudo 3D graphics sort of thing. It worked fine, no problems at all. I'm gonna turn down the volume a little bit. Yeah, so Sega Mega Drive is a tick for me. I'm gonna exit. Actually, I'm gonna load a Sega Master System game really quick. Oh, sorry. Load a new ROM. Load a new ROM. Yeah. I don't know whether you like this sort of menu system or not, but I'm so accustomed to RetroPie and the nice menu systems in RetroPie that I sort of feel like this is ancient, and I sort of kind of reminds me of the days of my PSP with this sort of style of menu system and stuff like that. Alex the Kid in Miracle World, that works fine. I've tested a few games on Master System and it just works fine, no problems at all. Good color, 60 FPS, good sound, no problems at all. And you can make this a full screen as well if you want to. I'm reasonably happy with it. Yep. Now let's really quickly try Game Gear game. Gonna load another ROM. Go back to menu up, Game Gear, and I'm gonna start Alien Syndrome. Now check the colors on here. Colors look a bit off for some reason. Oh, this text goes forever. Come on, skip. Oh, emergency. Oh, this is excruciatingly slow and I can't skip through this. Ah. Oh, I can press the fast forward button. That's good. Come on. Yeah, see the colors? Yes, I can't press the start button. Start button doesn't do anything. So let's see if I can configure controls. Player 1. And the start button is the start button. Oh, why to clear? Yeah. Ah, right. Okay. ABX is AB and X or XB and A. I'm gonna press. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Right. I'm gonna press start button. And start button doesn't do anything. Give me Y. Start. Yes. A. Bind. Y. No, Y is X. Okay. A, X, Y. Alright. So I'm gonna bind the Y button as start button. Get back out of it. Make out of it. And resume the game. I'm gonna press the start button, which doesn't do anything. Yeah, I actually give up and I'm gonna get out of this. So yeah, as I said, Pico Drive emulator is not good for Game Gear. What is not good, however, is another Game Gear or SMS emulation that I have installed. I'm gonna try maybe the same game and wait for all the text to load. Now the problem with this emulator is that it only runs half screen. There may be some settings inside, but I can't figure it out. So yeah, it's not. In here it still thinks it's a Dingo device. Maybe Dingo had a lower resolution, and that's why it's I've done native res, aspect fs, stretch fs, nothing works. If you do native, native, yeah, and then continue, native comes in like about this size. So that's the gameplay device of the colors are accurate. Game sounds looks alright as well, but I couldn't figure out the screen. If I do so if I go and press stretch fs, that's gonna basically stretch the whole screen to half a screen. Not happy with that either. Aspect fs is gonna do the aspect ratio, which is about this. Still half a screen. It still thinks for some reason that it's got a lower vertical resolution for some reason, but otherwise the games work alright. I played through this a little bit and it works fine. I mean, there's no problems with that except for the issues with the resolution. I might sort of drill down a bit into the configurations, text files or something, and see if I can change the vertical resolution or not. Okay, we're gonna get out of this and I'm gonna not bother testing the PlayStation emulation at all. Doesn't pick up my Neo Geo games either, so must be a file type issue. Not to bother with it. GBA is also not very good. It's not too bad like the SNES. So if you launch the Astro Boy game, English, sound seems to be okay. FPS may be okay as well. We can display setting, we can do FPS counter show, and we can get back to the game. And yeah, I tried to play this game earlier and it seems to be working fine. There was a bit of a slowdown when there were so many sprites on the screen, but otherwise it was okay. So for now, like one character, bit of text, perfect, near 60 FPS experience, no problems at all. Come on, skip. Yeah, so when few sprites on the screen with few things happening, drops down to about 50 FPS. Not a big problem. Playable, if that's what you're after. Unfortunately, I like my Raspberry Pi consoles. Sort of gives me near perfect experience every time I play. Plus the emulators are a bit more optimized as well. Drops down to about 50 FPS. Yeah, so overall I think the GBA emulation is good enough. Right, that sort of brings the conclusion of this video. So after flashing the new OS, what are my thoughts? While custom firmware is good, the emulators are not very good, not well optimized for this system. Maybe the system is not powerful enough either. Big downsides, you need particular ROM sets for your MAME emulation. NES is slow or choppy. SNES is definitely unplayable. Didn't like it at all. PC Engine is okay. No Game Gear, no proper Game Gear solution. Mega Drive, awesome. Game Boy and Game Boy Color, awesome as well. Game Boy Advance, playable. Apart from that, I still do not recommend this device. Just my opinion on it. Just the cost is not in that cheap territory of like, yeah, buy it, if you don't like it, use it and throw it or give it away or something. Button wise, I'm gonna say it again, hate those LNR buttons. Don't buy it if you don't like bad controls. All right. D-pad gets mushy after a while. I'm not going to recommend this device at all. Even after flashing custom OS, it's still average at best, and it doesn't do all the emulation, all the basic emulation that I want to play. And also I don't even recommend upgrading, like putting in a 16 gig card or 8 gig card. Do not waste your money if you already got this device. Upgrading it to a larger memory card to play more games, I don't think it's really worth it. After this video, I'm gonna actually remove the 16 gig card that I put in here and just replace it with a original 4 gig card that was inside. So these are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. It will help me a lot. Thank you and goodbye for now.